I think I'm live, but I'm not sure if I am. So can you give me a thumbs up to let me know if I'm live or not? Okay. Yes, the abundance mindset. Yes, we are live. I think we are because I can see a number of people in the space. Okay, so welcome, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? And welcome our Facebook family and YouTube. I hope you're good. I hope you're well. Okay, so we have just a couple more weeks to go this Friday and next week Friday, and we will be taking a break. So hopefully we're going to really pack the next two sessions with so much info and content that's going to be of value to you. Yes, as you probably figured, we are still in the month of October. So what does that mean? We're treating the theme of mindset. And today I wanted to talk about the abundance mindset, because this is a word, abundance, that is really picking up steam at the moment. So, but before we do that, I'd like to just welcome everyone. I hope you can hear and see me. Can you put a comment in the chat group just to confirm that you can see and hear me so that we can get started? I'd like to check. I'm hearing or I'm getting a note. Not sure if we are coming through on Facebook. So let's just have a look at that. So bear with me a moment. Okay, so you can hear and see me, which is great. Okay, great. How you doing, Millie? And Laura, Joan, I hope everyone is good. Okay, so either Glennis or Natty, can you just confirm that we are going live on Facebook, because we wouldn't want to leave our Facebook family out of the picture this evening, as well as our YouTube friends and family. So I hope we're good. Okay, so just for anyone who is tuning in for the first time, my name is Tony Biola Dada. I'm going to be your host this evening, and welcome to Friday Mind Reset Live. So what is the Friday Mind Reset Live? Well, it was born out of a series of events that we started to do based on the book, the GPS system that I wrote many moons ago. GPS stands for Grow Personal Success, because what I realized is that everybody wants and desires success, but we don't all know how to achieve the success. So whether you're 6 or 66, we have this desire to have success, but we don't know how to achieve it. And so the book was written really as my introduction, having spent 20 years working with disadvantaged individuals from within the community, particularly young people, seeing how, based on introducing some spiritual principles, that I saw people who were deemed as marginalized and destined for the scrap heap, as it were, go on to become really successful, turn their lives around, and some become multimillionaires. And so the book was written really introducing these spiritual principles. And I say that because it's really a foundational platform. From that, these Friday Mind Reset sessions were born. Why? Because each month we focus on one of what I refer to as the success pillars. There are 5 key areas that what I have noted is that when we begin to give and pay attention to these 5 areas holistically, because they are part of us, then we can see, in some cases, amazing breakthroughs within a really short space of time. And really that is just to set the scene to show you that many of us have been living fragmented lives. And that is the reason why we have found that life isn't shaping up the way that we would like. Simply put, we have become our own worst enemy. When we begin to operate holistically, giving attention to all of these areas, then things flow more effortlessly. And so each week for the last 5 months, we have been treating one of these 5 pillars. And so, of course, as I said, today and throughout this month, we are treating mindset, because the mind is so important in terms of achieving anything that we want to achieve in the other areas of our lives. So this is pretty much why we are here today. And today I'd like to talk about when I talk about mindset, I'd like to talk about how to access the consciousness of limitless possibilities. But before we get to that point, we have to look at a more broader spectrum in terms of what does that mean, accessing the consciousness of limitless possibilities. And so really today I want to just, because we're summing up the whole area of mindset, I want to really make this a case of asking you questions. Next week, we are going to have a special guest from the States, a lady by the name of Carol Hunter, and we'll be treating the topic, and you're going to love this one, the poverty mindset versus money mindset. What money means to a woman. So you're going to find that really interesting. So yeah, I hope you can tune in. But for today, this is why I want to wrap up or summarize by asking you some questions as we go along, just to see how you are thinking about your mind and how your mind is operating. So, as I said, my mentor once said to me, isn't it funny? And by that, I'm talking about Brother Ishmael Tete, my spiritual mentor. He said, isn't it funny how the greatest gift that God has given to man doesn't know how to use it, or simply doesn't want to use it. I was talking to someone today, just this afternoon, and he was talking about in his work, he speaks with a lot of clients, and there's a particular group of clients that he's found that when he speaks with them, they don't really want to think through the process of understanding and assimilating the information he's putting in front of them. They'd rather just say, oh, you know what, I trust you. And that's exactly what I mean when I say, do you actually use your mind? And we've talked in previous weeks about, a poverty mindset and a prosperous mindset, backward thinking. And it's really about summing up or really getting a grip of at what stage are you in terms of using the full potential of your mind. And so I wanted to start off today just by breaking it down into about 3 or 4 segments. By that, I mean, when we talk about mindset, are you the kind of person that you are unemployable because your mind is just not fertile soil where you can even be taught or shown anything? And you might think, well, no, that's impossible. But it's not, because a young man who some of you know by the name of Nathaniel, when he first came to work and wanted me to mentor and coach him, that after the first day, I actually said to him, I think you're actually unemployable, the state that you are in. However, if you're ready to commit and do the work, I will employ you. Notice that I will employ you. It's not necessarily for pay, but I will employ you, meaning I will give you instructions and tasks for you to complete. And I said, I'm going to coach you, so I ain't paying you. That's the deal. Because when I coach people, they normally pay me. So he thought about it and he agreed. And so we moved from the state of being unemployed or unemployable as a mindset to one where he was employed. And obviously, for many of us out here, we are employed. We go to work and we have a boss or a manager, and they tell us what to do, and we do the work. And there's nothing wrong with being employed. But what it is clear is that someone is instructing you what to do at whatever level. Even if you're a senior manager, you get given a set of instructions, guidelines, rules, whatever, and you then employ yourself to fulfill that which has been asked for you. And even within the employment sphere, there are different levels. You can have someone who's just employed on the shop floor, and then you can have senior managers, and senior managers work really hard, and so there's different levels. But for many people, or should I say a small group of people, but increasingly in recent times, we find that people actually don't want to be employed by somebody else. They want to be employed by themselves. Now that's another level of graduation. So we had unemployable, employed, and now we're looking at self-employed. And many people, when they move into this space, underestimate how difficult or challenging it might be. The caveat I'd give to that is to say that despite how difficult or challenging it might be, and the evidence to support that is that near enough 85% of new startup businesses do not make it to their third anniversary. So that really shows that the odds are stacked against you when it comes to being self-employed. But nevertheless, so many people want to do it, even though the odds are stacked against us. So I wonder, and maybe you should too, why is it that people, despite knowing the odds are stacked against you, want to be self-employed and will sometimes leave the comfort of an employed state and then want and put themselves in that challenging space where they can be self-employed? Well, I guess, and I believe, it's because deep within our soul, we all actually want a challenge. When we're not challenged, it leads to stagnation. But when we're challenged, it gives us the opportunity not only to grow and expand our soul, but it gives us the opportunity to prove to ourselves that, I could do this. That's if we're stepping to it for the right reasons. Unfortunately, some people want to become self-employed because they're thinking purely about money. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what I have found is that if money is your only motivation, then when the going gets tough, and tough it will get going, you will be gone, because there'll be nothing really holding you to want to continue and push past those pain points and barriers. And so, as I said, nevertheless, people do want to continue in that realm. And I found, working with NatWest Bank, we were working with NatWest Bank for a few years as one of our sponsors. And we found that when people had really thought deeply about their gifts, their talents, and their abilities, and why, most importantly, why they wanted to go in business, it put them in a better stead, for being able to be clear about what they were wanting to do and be able to increase the probability of achieving it and withstanding the troubles and the difficulties and the challenges. So those are the three main brackets. And of course, many people who graduate to being self-employed, many are using a smart tactic to curtail the pain, as it were, and the difficulties of starting a business by having a business mentor or a business coach, someone who's gone down that path, because it's the same path for everyone where the business is concerned, to help you navigate so that you don't have to go through the problems of and the challenges that could take you out. But the space that I really want to talk about today is what comes after being self-employed. You see, I have found that the space that really excites me is what I call your God assignment, or being God employed. What do I mean when I say that? Have you ever, and I'm speaking to those people who have felt deep within their soul that there's a calling or a purpose, or you're wanting to find your purpose to fulfill something? That is what I refer to as a God assignment. And some people take years to find their God assignment. Some people find their God assignment really quickly. But when you find your God assignment, it's another level of graduation. Remember, we talked about being unemployed, level 1, employed, level 2, self-employed, level 3. Now the next level, and one of the hardest, if not the hardest, is working on your God assignment, or your being God employed. And that's literally when you may get a download or a clear instruction from, tapping into source, where you are able to see, and this is what you're called to do. And so you now have a conviction deep within your soul that this is your purpose, and you go and pursue that. And that takes a lot. It is really so hard, because sometimes you may not even have the resources right there and then to begin that kind of work. I'm thinking of my spiritual mentor brother Ishmael, when I first met him 39 years ago as a young Ghanaian guy that's traveled from Ghana to London with a God assignment. And that God assignment was that he felt, check this out, I find it really quite funny, that he wanted to bring spirituality to the West, to help us here in the West to know how to live life better. But he came over and he didn't have large resources in terms of money, finances, and staff or a team. But he had a God assignment. And it's interesting that his organization is called the Aetherian Mission, meaning this is a man who is on a mission, and he's very clear about that. He actually had no interest in setting up an organization, when it was formed some 50 years ago. But based on him just being on his assignment, which was to help and support people, he found that the people around him in Ghana literally formed the organization around him. And so it was called the Etherean Mission. And so I'm really speaking to anyone who feels deep within their soul that they have some kind of work to do, that you might be inspired by that story. So here's a man, he comes over to the UK at 30 years of age or thereabouts with this vision. And as I said, that was 39 years ago. And from the UK, he set up a branch here in the UK, and that branch still exists today. But not only that, he was so convinced of his vision and his mission, and so therefore he set about to work continually, effortlessly, on a constant grind, traveling to America on a regular basis. Has written something like 27, 30 books. I can't even keep count. But, because he's on that God assignment and being God employed, literally the power, the clarity, the wisdom, the inspiration literally just comes and flows through him. And so he has to just let it out. And so traveling to America, engaging with people in America. And so now he also has a division in the States called Conscious Humanities. Met many speakers, including the likes of Rhonda Byrne, the creator of The Secret. And that's how I was able to get copies of The Secret back in 2006 and, introduce them into the UK. But I'm saying this because I want you to figure out where you're at currently and where you want to be. Because if it is the case that you want to set a vision, that you want to find your God assignment, then we can talk about some of the things that you can begin to do that will enable you to move towards that. Like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with any of the different stages that I've mentioned, whether you're unemployed, if you don't want to do anything, and if you don't want anyone to employ you, that's fine, knock yourself out. But we both know that there'll come a point in time when you will say, nah, this ain't working for me. I need to get employed. I need to find a source of income. I need to do something. And so then you'll take it to the next level. So again, employed is great if it works for you. Self-employed, if it works for you, is also good. But this point where you're on an assignment, I think this is where it's really at. Why? Because there's a number of benefits. One, I believe that the world that we live in today, it clearly shows that how the world has been operating has not been for our highest good. And what do I mean? I mean, there's the climate, narrative that's going on where we're on the border of extinction. That doesn't seem to me to be very smart in terms of us being able to employ our minds to enjoy this this beautiful planet that we have. So yet we have great minds working, being employed, being self-employed, but the overall impact on the planet is that we're bordering on annihilating, ourselves off the planet. That doesn't make sense to me. And so I'm trusting and believing that there's a higher mindset that we can access where we can experience abundance. And what is that abundance mindset like, I ask? That abundance mindset is where you recognize that there is there's a level of intelligence, there's a mind that is beyond your mind. Where you think this is not possible, when you're able to access that consciousness of limitless possibilities, you are able to do what the ordinary person or the average person might consider to be crazy. And so this is why I ask you the question, where do you want to operate from? You see, I personally asked myself that question probably unconsciously many years ago in terms of accessing a consciousness of limitless possibilities when I decided to make myself intentionally homeless at the age of 18 or so. I didn't have, from a physical point of view, looking at my resources, looking at my capacity, looking at my funds, I just didn't have what was needed. I probably had enough to last for probably a couple of weeks. But I was able to tap into a consciousness of limitless possibilities that was based on my belief, a deep-rooted belief in my soul that there was more for me to experience. And I had to take this step, as crazy as it might appear to the naked eye. I had to do this. And so I'm sharing that story with you because sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, you need to be able to close your eyes so that you can see more clearly. And I know that sounds like a contradiction, but you see, when we're able to close our eyes and open our inner eye, then that speaks of the vision. And you know, I'm always talking about the vision is everything, because as it says in the good book, without a vision, people perish. But I'm using that story just to show you the power of vision and giving you tools that will enable you to be able to access this consciousness of limitless possibilities. Because, so here I am, I close my physical eyes and focus on opening up my inner eye, the eye of vision, of possibilities. And through activating faith, which is another component that many people talk about, but not many people know how to utilize. And it says again in the good book, faith without works is dead. It's nothing. I mean, you're literally dead if you are a person who cannot activate faith and employ it in your life. So here I am. I've created a vision. I've activated faith by taking action. And literally within 6 months, I meet my spiritual mentor and he introduces me to a whole new other world of possibilities. Do you see the point that I'm making here? And he's still my mentor today, literally taking me, my life on a whole new course. So the question is, how firm is your vision? Do you have one in terms of how you see yourself, in terms of the mindset that you hold and what it is and where it is that you want to be? And are you able to draw examples? You see, because I believe that we're living in a new time, ladies and gentlemen, where it's not about us being able to just state, oh, I'm good at this or I know this. I'm speaking to lots of people now who are very intellectual. You know, especially when we talk about spirituality and that area of things, and they tell me, well, I've read this book, or even if it's on, you know, the mind, I've read this book, I know that, you know, but knowing is one thing, employing is something completely different. Have you practiced these things? Can you prove to yourself that you have the capacity, the mindset, the ability to be able to operate at that level? You see, I believe that we're all here to challenge ourselves, to step into a challenge. And that challenge is not for anyone else. We're not in competition with anyone else. In fact, the challenge is just for us to grow. You know how great you feel when you step to a challenge and you've been victorious in that challenge. That is really what it's all about. So I want to just give you a few practical tips that can allow you to access that consciousness of limitless possibilities, because I have a hunch, and it's based on being in this space for the best part of 30 years. I have a hunch that you are probably operating at less than 50% of your true potential. And when you're able to create that vision and find your God assignment, or be employed by that higher intelligence, that creative, loving intelligence that knows you better than you know yourself, then you get to discover a whole new world and a whole new sense of being and what is possible. You see, in order to access that kind of a mindset, and we mention this all the time, I truly believe that a couple of things need to happen. One, we need to cleanse our minds of all of the crap that we have adopted over the years. We now know for sure that there have been many systems in place to cause us to follow an illusion. whether it be through the educational system, in order for you to spend many years just regurgitating information so that you can go and get a job that keeps you JOB, just over broke, but really at the same time causes you to sell out on your dreams and your visions. And a cool tactic, because the bribe is so sweet. And so we need to cleanse our minds of all of those illusions as a first point in call. And then we need to reestablish and readopt ideas and a value system that support our vision and what it is that we want to achieve and what we want to do and what we want to be, most importantly. You see, we're all being called to make a great contribution to this thing called life. And the sooner we gain clarity and can connect to that higher source to get a sense of what that is, then you just get on with the job. And you're not swayed by opinions and ideas and comments that people will make. In fact, I would say that one of the ways that you can prove to yourself that you are on your mission, you see, then, because at that stage, it's not a job, it becomes a mission, your assignment. When you get to that level, you almost have to appear a little crazy. Like, don't be surprised if people say that you are, like, are you okay? You know, I remember when about 10 years ago, when I decided to take that next level of, yes, I've been self-employed for a number of years, but I felt there was something missing. And I went searching, literally, for my God assignment. My really good friend, Donald, big shout out to Donald, he gave me keys to his home, and I just went and I actually spent 18 months there. And he was really concerned. He thought I'd lost my mind in terms of, I really wanted to get clarity. You know, I've been self-employed, but I felt and I knew that there was just more. And by me taking that time out, it enabled me to discover what that assignment was. And here I am today. But the process has been a really interesting one and fascinating one. So what I'm sharing with you is based on experience, that even he looked at me at one point and thought, you know, this is like, he actually said, this thing is going to kill you if you're not careful. And I had to really sit with that. But despite sitting with it, I felt, no, I have to do this. And you may be able to relate with that also, that you get to a point where this thing, you just feel it from such a deep sense within your soul that it must be done. And for me, the last 10 years have been the most amazing journey, because when you're on your God assignment, it also speaks of the relationship that you have, being able to tap into a higher level of consciousness and be guided. You know, how is it that for the last 7 years, when I decided to come back, I was really clear that I was now going to be working with people from all different parts of and different sections of the community. And I would be really clear about what it was that I was looking to do. And when I would do my events, there was a song that I was always singing. And if I can remember it, it was, oh yes, I can. Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking, time for looking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. Now I'm singing that 7 years ago as if a pre-warning for what was to come, because look at 2020. The world has just changed completely in all shapes and in all manner. And some of the people that came to some of my events back then and was just like, okay, this is kind of entertaining, have come back to me and said, wow, Tony, like, how did you know? Well, when you're on your God mission, it's almost like you're in partnership with life. And this is why I wanted to talk about this, because to access the consciousness of limitless possibilities, your mind must first be able to get to a certain place. And that certain place is, one, you have to go through a healing process for yourself. Heal yourself from past hurts, pains, misconceptions, illusions, and come to a new awareness. There is no way that you're going to be able to tap into the last two areas in terms of self-employed and be on your God assignment if you're not able to heal yourself from your past hurts. And I find so many people try to smooth over the stuff that they've got going on where their past is concerned and try and fast track their way into business and entrepreneurship. And it won't work. It's out of order. It's out of alignment. I'm going to tell you now, it won't work. You've got to do the healing. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you can't do the healing whilst you're running your business. And I know a lot of people who have done just that because they recognize when they get to a certain level that, you see those 5 pillars, they all need to be addressed and treated simultaneously. And so you have to be able to heal. And then you have to get to a point of believing and understanding what abundance is. You see, many people think that this abundance consciousness is about having lots of cars, lots of money, and having lots of wealth. But what if I told you that actually abundance is a state of consciousness? And until you attain that state of consciousness, you can't have the abundance by spiritual law. Everything can look like you have it, but you won't have that feeling, you won't have that spirit. And that's why we hear with people who they look like they have abundance around them, but they go and commit suicide because it's not a physical thing. And through this evening, I'm hoping that you will hear me when I say that majority of people practice it back to front. They think it's about chasing those things and having those things and then being able to say, yeah, I have abundance. Abundance is a state of consciousness that you must attain. It is to be attained. So how do we attain a level of consciousness where abundance dwells? Well, that's why I call it the state of where God resides. Because abundance, it can actually blow your mind if you're not ready for it. And how do I know? Well, some of you may have heard the story that I speak about when myself and Chris Coney back in 2017 were experiencing the meteoric rise of Bitcoin back in 2017 from $3,000 to $20,000. Yes, I know it's at 60 plus currently, but back then, can you imagine? Now, Chris, for example, is a very intelligent guy and has always worked hard as I have done. And so to experience something where you see this massive expansion, no hard work, no work at all, and you're just seeing this expansion, in a monetary sense. And then see what happened in 2018, where the price of Bitcoin just plummeted. It was really difficult. it was really hard. But as I said back then to Chris, I knew that that was an experience that we had to go through, because then we had the experience of what abundance could look like. I mean, we saw our portfolios increase, almost tenfold within a 90-day period. Imagine that. And so this state of abundance, the reason why I wanted to bring it to your awareness today is because I believe that we are in this space and time. Yes, there is lots of fear in society in terms of the fact that we can all sense that there is a new world that's forming. And of course, there's fears around COVID and employment and resources and all of those things. But at the same time, and it seems as if there's almost two worlds forming. On the one hand, there's a world of lack, limitation, shrinking resources, fear, and as a result, all of the emotions that go with that, the belief that there's not going to be enough. How am I going to manage? What am I going to do? But where the abundance mindset is concerned, there are people that are seeing immense possibilities, limitless possibilities, and are actually experiencing them, seeing their portfolios grow and their financial status growing, even in these times, seeing opportunities being presented to them, and just seeing an abundance. And my question to you is, what are you seeing, number one? And what are you experiencing? And you have to be 100% real with yourself, because in this new era that we're living in, like, times are real. Times are real. And so we can't hide anymore. We have to say it like it is to ourselves. And more importantly, if we check ourselves and realize that we don't like where we are, then we must, it's imperative that you decide, make a decision, make a commitment to yourself to do something about it. I believe that although this is the season of harvest, and this is why I want to bring it to all of our members and our listeners and people that are tuning in, I want you to experience this abundance that is taking place. I've been saying it to our community for the last year, and using Bitcoin as an example. If you had invested in Bitcoin at the beginning of this year, you may well be looking at something like a 500 or 600% increase in your portfolio. Yet at the same time, governments are saying that they have to make tax cuts, and there's a shortage of this and there's a shortage of that. Isn't that interesting? Where do you set your intention? Where do you set your focus? Where do you set your vision? And are you doing everything in your power and in your capacity to move towards that spirit of abundance? The other thing that I'd like to say around being able to tap into the spirit of abundance that many people don't refer to, and I'm going to keep it real. What is the quality of your thoughts? And when I say that, I mean, what are the quality of your thoughts towards others? Because you can't have the mindset where secretly you're begrudging other people's success. I'm going to go there. I'm going to say it like it is. You're begrudging other people's success inwardly. You ain't saying that, but you ain't happy for that person who just bought that new car or bought that new house. So the quality of your thoughts are not really positive, yet you want to experience abundance. It doesn't make any sense and therefore can't be achieved, because the spirit of abundance means limitless. supply. Just like the air we breathe. You don't ever wake up in the morning and as you're walking down the street to work or going about your business, look at somebody else that's breathing and secretly be hating on them because they're breathing the air that you should have breathed. It never happens. You just go about your business. You just do your thing. That's the state of consciousness of someone who has abundance. So check yourself. What are the qualities? What is the quality of your thoughts towards others? But equally, what's the quality of your thoughts towards yourself? Do you recognize and believe that you have the potential to access infinite knowledge? Or do you rely on yourself? And when I say rely on yourself, see, this is for me what accessing the consciousness of limitless possibilities is what it's all about. You know, you will often find when you talk to entrepreneurs, yes, they'll do everything in their own capacity based on thinking ideas and acting on ideas. But there will be occasions when they will, an idea will almost pop into their mind. And that is when they are able to access that infinite intelligence. But it's being able to have your mind as fertile soil so that you can actually receive that transmission. And do you give yourself the capacity or the space and time to be able to have those quiet moments where you can tune in to a higher level of conscious awareness? Or are you the kind of person that you're always busy doing something? Like you've got to be busy. And so there's no time. There's not enough time. Do you see where we're going? Again, it does not speak of abundance. If you find yourself that you're always busy and you're always saying there's not enough time, how are you going to experience abundance? Because that statement is a statement of a consciousness of limit. And so your thoughts, your thinking, your words, and your actions have all got to line up with this awareness and the belief that you truly hold in your head and in your heart that there is limitless possibilities. We're living in a universe that is expanding. Science tells us this. So if the universe is expanding, then it's expanding, then there's more. There is more to you than meets the eye. Are you going to give yourself the opportunity to discover what that is? Well, you hold the key that will open your mind to infinite possibilities through accessing the consciousness of abundance. Or you use that key to literally imprison your mind, lock yourself in, and then throw the key away. And so the point I'm making is the power really resides within you and the decision that you choose to make. And so one final tip that I share with you in terms of how you can help ensure and prove that you're on that path to accessing the abundance that is all around us is by continually asking yourself questions. As you know, I use the word ask as an acronym, which is A, always, S, seeking, K, knowledge. Are you the kind of person that's always seeking knowledge that will lead to your growth and your expansion in each of those 5 areas of your life? Because that's what life's calling us to do. And you'll find that the people that understand this, not just understand this, but practice this, these are some of the happiest people on the planet. And that is true abundance. It is not having $250,000 or a couple of mil in the bank. It's not that at all. Abundance is knowing that you have excess in your mental capacity, in your physical, in your spiritual, in your relationships, in your health and well-being. That is abundance. You know, they say, you know, health is true wealth. Your mind and how you look after that. This is what true abundance is. And this is what I wish for you and all of those that are in our community, our data community, because it literally is within your reach and the decision is yours. Now, many people may hear this, what I'm saying, and think, what is that guy going on about? I'm cool with that. I'm actually, right about now, I'm really cool with that because I'm used to it. Just like back in 2006, when I introduced The Secret into my community here in the UK, my own board of directors thought I had lost my mind. And yet, fast forward, that brand, that franchise that started out with an initial investment of, I think, 6 mil, has grossed way over 65 million. Like, how about, then I'm okay with being crazy. Because if this inspires just a small number of you to want to take action and to being able to access this consciousness of limitless possibilities, then this is worth doing. And I'd also like to use the opportunity, if you would like the fast track, I mean, if you have your own pathway, then that's great, because all roads lead to the same place if your heart and mind is in the right place. But if you are looking for the fast track, then I'm doing a 5-day challenge. We did one last month and it was so successful. My team have said, we have to do this again. And so you can spend 5 days with me, 5 evenings, I should say, for just an hour, where we do our challenge, a 5-day challenge, really to get you to prove to yourself, are you ready for this challenge in terms of taking your mind to the next level, whatever that might be for you, but turbocharging it in a way that allows you to just see another level of possibilities, especially as we're drawing to the close of the year. Here we are in the last quarter of the year. It's a great opportunity to get real clear on how you want to show up in 2022. There is infinite possibilities, ladies and gentlemen. This is the season of harvest, where you can literally fill up your container. The question is your container gonna be a little bowl, or is your container gonna be a 5-seater vehicle, or is your container gonna be a lorry where you get to fill that lorry with your abundance? Well, you have to use your mind to figure that out. And whatever you choose will be what you have to carry through with you in 2022. So I'm going to pause now before we draw to a close, but of course, not before I give out the link. If you'd like to join our 5-day challenge, then simply visit www.dadarichsociety.com/5D3. I'd really be grateful if one of my team could just put it in the chat. That would be really useful, and across the Facebook and YouTube. But for now, I'm just going to see, are there any questions that anyone would like to ask before I close out? So I'm able to just have a look. Let's see. Okay, I'm looking on on our channels and we seem like we're good. What about here on our platform? Okay. Any questions that anyone would like to ask? Or do we go private and that's what you're waiting for? Okay. All right. Well, we are just coming up to 9 o'clock. I hope that this has been useful. I hope I covered everything that I wanted to cover. And I hope that most importantly, you will ponder on what we've shared this evening, but most of all, that you will take some form of action, because I don't want in 6 months for you to remember this episode and be saying to yourself, I wish I had taken action, because I hear that a lot and it kind of just gets to me really. I'm like, why don't you take action? And so that's what we're going to be doing on our 5-day challenge, which is called the Abundance Challenge, where you get to move from procrastination to manifestation, where you get to move from not experiencing anything productive to beginning to experiencing, and more importantly, beginning to manifest things into your life in some or all of those 5 areas. And when you begin to manifest, even if it be in a small capacity, it is the most empowering and fulfilling experience. And what it also does that often people don't recognize and appreciate is that it builds your faith so that you can now rise to another challenge, a bigger challenge. I remember when back in 2000, I think it was 14 or so, when I'd come back and I decided that I was going to do this work and I really wanted to commit. And I sold one of my properties and invested around 50K into the project. The amount of people that said to me, are you crazy? What are you doing? Even people of faith, Christians, were like, what are you doing? But that is the power of someone who understands abundance. I had properties. And so where many people were saying to me, well, actually, you shouldn't be selling your property. I don't know if you know people like that. They're on this mission to hoard as many properties as they can. But my spiritual mentor said to me when I was speaking to him about my vision, our shared vision, because we had done some masterminding, so he knew what was on my heart. And I said, yeah, but at the moment, the cash flow is not really there. And he looked at me and he said, but you have properties, right? And right there, that is an illustration of, because the point he was making, he was speaking from a place of abundance. He was looking at my assets and saying, well, you have that. Now, it was for me to demonstrate and prove to myself whether I was thinking poverty mindset or prosperous mindset, meaning how important is this work to me? And am I prepared to release some of which I already possess and just transfer it into the business, the vision that I had? I took some time and meditated on it, and I decided to do that. And I believe it was one of the best things I've ever done, because it enabled me to begin this journey, but not just begin the journey, but to begin this journey at pace. And I have made some amazing friendships and relationships established that not only have grown my soul, but have keyed me and tapped me into an expansive amount of finance and money through my meeting with Chris Coney, who I would never have met had I not made that investment and used those funds to invest in my growth, going on courses. And it was on one of those courses I met Chris. So the point I'm making to sum up, is begin to think abundantly. You experience abundance not by acting or doing, but you experience abundance by being in the state of abundance for as long and as often as you can. I hope you've enjoyed this evening. I really have. I'm looking forward to next week. We're going to have a great time with Carol Hunter. Me and her and I, we get on so well. And as I said, the topic, I think, ladies, bring all your lady friends, and fellas, bring your ladies, because we're going to do some learning again. And let me just mention it once again, the title. So it's the poverty mindset versus money mindset. What money means to a woman. I've got some ideas of what she's going to be talking about, because I've had the pleasure of interviewing her some time ago. And if some of you want to get a sneak preview, then you can visit my YouTube and type in, look for Carol Hunter, the interview I did with her a few years ago, and you'll get a vibe of what's to come. All right, on that note, thank you for tuning in. Stick around, please, the Rich Society members, as we go and take it down to the next level. We go deep diving. Okay, good night.